Hello and welcome to the Temple of Speed for round 6 of the VRR Marathon GT World Tour. I'm Olivia Hayward, live on IBN, bringing you all the coverage of this round of the championship from Autodromo Nazionale Monza, where we'll have 3 sprint races of 15 minutes, live and exclusive on ABN. Opened more than a century ago in 1922, this circuit in northern Italy has hosted all manner of top-level racing, Formula 1 of course, but also the World Endurance Championship and, at one point, the World Rally Championship. The current Grand Prix layout sits at 3.6 miles, 5.8 kilometers, with 11 turns, 4 to the left and 7 to the right. But do bear in mind that 7 of those turns are bundled up into the 3 chicanes around this place, and one of them is as good as flat out in these cars as well. So very much incentive for setup makers to strip all of the downforce possible off these race cars, and it'll be a very sketchy challenge indeed to navigate through corners, especially through Parabolica. Bianca Constantinou and Emily Howe both look to be absent from tonight's round, meaning that Christina Ryan could be in a prime position to try and gain some spots in the standings and go for a late race charge, potentially for the top of the board. Chevrolet driver Rudy Valentin will also not attend, which means that we are guaranteed new race winners by the end of these 3 rounds at Monza circuit. We'll look to the timing boards with just a couple of minutes left in our final practice session, and there you see Derek Miller currently sat on the top of the timing screen with Paige Azeri in second place, and Robin Robinson, who really impressed 2 weeks ago with a triple podium result, in third place. Let's take you through for a little bit of action around this circuit. You see this coming through towards the Parabolica final corner, also on the Great Alboreto as of a recent name change or name addition. That will of course be Haley Alboreto, who drove for 14 seasons in Formula 1. Through to the final minute, we actually will go on board with Derek Miller as we head down into the Rettifield chicane. This is going to be calamity corner for these standing starts. To try and navigate through this, it's difficult enough, as you saw, to go through one wide, let alone if you've got a car challenging to your side. Then through Curva Grande, there's going to be a little bit of a bleed of the throttle here, just to guarantee you stay tucked in over to the right-hand side into the Delaware chicane. Very quick, but still very treacherous. Those sausage curbs can very easily cause you a heap of trouble and throw you out into the gravel on the outside. Then we come through the 2 Lesmos, 2 of the more traditional corners on this racetrack. We hook through one. It'll be through a second here, braking about 75, and then out. There's a little bit of that runoff and into that final DRS straight as we head and finish up our practice session and then a hop over into qualifying in just a moment's time. As always, it will be a 10-minute open session. That's going to be something interesting to watch here, because notable examples of calamities at Monza in recent years have come in qualifying, and have come in the form of people vying to try and not be the first one in line. You want to try and have someone ahead of you to give you a little bit of draft. This is Christina Ryan following behind. I believe that is going to be Derek Miller. Just going to pull up a little track map to guide myself so that I can be sure of who is who. Again, these warm-up laps not too important. Of course, you can't afford to bin it because you are not allowed to reset in these sessions. As we get our paints refreshed and guaranteed. I mean, Christina's been doing that all season. It's a beautiful looking scheme, the blue and pink Ford Mustang. I'm sure Lila would be very happy to see the field composition here. All of our drivers are going to be driving the Gen 3 Mustang for competition tonight. None of our Chevrolets opting to make the trip across the pond to Italy. Remember that is Derek Miller leading this pack. These were the first two to start their lap. You've got this pack at the front of the field. Then just behind, you've got Jacob Fulton and Robin Robinson a little bit separated. And then even Melton leading a 3-car gaggle with, I believe, Valkyrie Lightwing and Bruce Silver. So this is going to be very interesting indeed to see how this draft is going to work out. We're going to follow on board with Christina Ryan for the first lap of her session. And she's left a little bit of a gap to Derek Miller here. So she's going to get a little bit of slipstream, but is not going to risk running into the back of the Vodafone Ford Mustang. You see both drivers getting a little bit squirrely there. Miller definitely getting the worst run, and now Christina's going to have the drag in the one place where these cars can't really use it, to be fair, through Curva Grande. You gotta just feather the throttle ever so slightly to keep it on the straight and narrow on the exit of this corner, down into De La Rocha chicane. Track limits can be a big factor here. Oh, and that curb is caught out. Christina just a little bit. She recovers it and stays in that draft of the number 56 ahead. But then, as we head through the two Lesmos, this is where the draft is really helpful. This is traditionally a DRS straight in the Formula 1 video. You can see the board passed by on that left-hand side. And we're going to head down into the Ascari chicane, named after another legendary Italian racing driver. You've got those little turtles on the side. Gotta be careful of the track limits as well. Brutal, not just on the aphids, but also if you run too wide on the exit here, you can get away with going a little bit over, and I think both drivers will get away with that one. Christina Ryan not gotten a pole position yet this season, of course. The other stats go around about 3 times as easy compared to just the one qualifying session per race. As we come across the line, she's closer than she was at the start of the lap to Miller, and so I think this one will count for her lap time. We'll see what she ends up setting. It'll be a 1 minute 51.5, and it will be good enough for provisional pole right now. The second group comes across the line. Robinson and Fulton go slower by. We're not all that much ultimately. We flicked back. Paige Zeri's actually separated from the group, and it's even Melton's group. Oh no, it's Bruce Silver, a teammate that was in this group to begin with. So Eva has gone 5th fastest. Bruce Silver in that slipstream has found it up to 4th place, as Valkyrie Lightwind will fall in behind. But it's still Christina Ryan with the supremacy here after the first lap of qualifying competition. Derek Miller is going to be in second, but is currently in the worst spot because any lap time he finds, he's just going to pull the number 80 Lond with him. And in this situation, I think that gamesmanship could end up playing a factor where maybe if this lap isn't looking too good, pull to one side, cut Christina astray, and maybe try and latch onto the back of her again for the end of this one. Halfway through our qualifying session, remember, the checkered flag will immediately end the session in the heat racing format that we're running today. We also checked Lilac Zir is currently coming through the first sector on her first flying lap. We'll have a look at how she does in just a moment of time. There's a lot of gravel on the outside of Ascari on the exit there. Truly remarkable how that's already gotten so dirty on the outside. Christina Ryan has in fact backed off, it looks like. She needs a little bit more room to build her next lap. Derek Miller will cross the line, goes faster by almost a second, and goes to pole position. Let's see what Robin Robinson can do. Has that slipstream. They actually did get a little bit caught up with each other. I think neither driver was going to improve in that one. But Bruce Silver now ahead of Eva Melton. Not sure whether she had to make that overtake happen in the way out of Sky. That's a spin behind from Eva Melton. She should be able to roll it into pit lane, hopefully, and get going. But Bruce Silver is up to third place with a 151.8. Now let's see what Lilac Zia can do in the number 89 Taylor Mills Racing Machine. Again, the spec map for that sort of semi-gloss paint is just... I'm biased, obviously, but it is just wonderful. We'll see what Lilac can find on the first flying lap here, and it's going to be just a warm-up lap for the number 89. Next up to set their first lap of the session is going to be Paige Azeri, teammate, current third-place driver in the standings. She's shown good pace in the series so far. Picked up some good results, most notably a second-place finish down at Watkins Glen in the second round of that race, but hasn't been with us for the last couple of rounds, so looking to come back with a bang in the number 99 Ford Mustang, one of the two Dodbots Dingoes around the racetrack here, and it will be a 151.9 for her first lap. Done her for fourth place, right behind her teammate in the number 36. Derek Miller pulls into pit lane here. Christina Ryan finishes her lap but can't find an improvement. Does Robin Robinson have any more? Has found a little bit of clean air this time. Can be as important as that draft, but no, this is another cooldown lap. We'll warm back into the session. Number 36 going to pull into pit lane here, and I think Valtteri Lightwind may follow. He's going to stay out on track, but might not be able to find too much in the racetrack. Lilac Zia and Madeline Roten, the only two drivers yet to set a lap time. The number 60 looking like they will start at the tail end of the field. So it's just up to Lilac. We know has fantastic pace. Won just last week in the ABN Champ Car World Series at Sonoma. It doesn't look like she's finding that much right now. I mean, didn't have much practice in the session. And like a few people was running a little bit earlier. I think it's just woken up after running a late night slot of the Road America 500 this week. In very different machinery, but still just as much of a handful to run. Less than a minute left in qualifying. Derek Miller's on an outlap. I don't think he can find any improvement here. Christina Ryan is not on a lap. She won't be able to improve. The question, what can Jacob Fulton do in the BWT machine? Is there any time left for him to find a spot to climb up the board? I think this could end up being our starting grid for tonight's race, unless Jake Fulton has anything left to say about it. Upcoming programming on ABN. Later tonight, we've got ARCs at Michigan, a couple more broadcasts on the stock car scene tomorrow night. But then you are not going to want to miss it. Wednesday night, 8 Eastern, the 7th Arrowhead 500 live on ABN. I cannot wait for that one. But that is qualifying drawn to a close. We're going to set the grid for our first of 3 15-minute sprints here. And let's look at our starting lineup. It is Derek Miller taking the pole position by about half a second over second in points, Christina Ryan. Behind them, it will be the Dodbots Racing teammates of Paige Azeri and Bruce Silver. Third row of the grid will be Robin Robinson in that Lotus-inspired paint. and Eva Melton in the number 81. Row 4 will make up Jake Fulton and Valkyrie Lightwing. And then the 5th and final row of running, it will be Lila Zir and Madeline Roten. The 10 drivers ready to take battle here at Monza. Just waiting a couple more drivers to find their way to the grid here. It's a long run down to turn 1. It looks like the lights are gonna come on. The engines rev. And we are racing here at Monza. And it's a really good start from Derek Miller, and Paige Azeri, in fact, gets a fantastic jump. It's going to be side by side already with Miller into turn number 1. Christina Ryan just gets left out to dry a little bit, but they're going to filter through turn 1, mostly single file. And we are going to get through without too much trouble. Valkyrie Lightwing struggling to get the car rotated on the exit of the corner. But disaster for Christina Ryan on the initial start. Falls from the front row down to 4th. Is now being harangued by Robin Robinson, a rival from last time out over Okayama, who gained 2 spots on that start. And of course, Paige Azeri from the second row has jumped up into second position and is now going to challenge Miller into Lesmo 1. Gets to the inside. Miller has to leave space and he's just going to wash out. And that is going to be the number 99 to the race lead. Paige Azeri up 2 spots on the initial start. Christina Ryan can't quite navigate Robinson right now. And they are going to streak through in the draft down towards Scari for the first time. Again, Silva down 1 spot currently. Couldn't quite get the start needed. Now has 4 very fast drivers ahead of her. Christina Ryan's going to look to the inside, try and get a move done on Robinson. Does get to the inside, but the 24 is going to try and hand that wide line around. That is a car off in the background. That's Eva Melton, who's in the barriers down at Parabolica, and with some big damage to her car. She'll have to take a fast repair there as the rest of the field makes their way through. Robinson has fended off Christina Ryan for now. Derek Miller goes to the inside of Paige Azeri, but blows the corner, has to cut through the runoff. That'll be a slowdown to serve, and that will let Paige Azeri come through as well as Robinson, and maybe Christina Ryan as well. In fact, Bruce Silva has gotten around the number 80 here, and it looks like Miller will be able to slot into P3. We will take another look back at that incident for Eva Melton in just a moment's time, but this is drama already in the early running. Paige Azeri, Robin Robinson have climbed from 3rd and 5th to be on the front of the grid. Bruce Silva had a slowdown to serve and had to let the number 8 Christina Ryan back through. And I think now that we've had those initial moments, let's have a look back at what happened to showrunner Eva Melton coming into the Parabolica here on lap number 1. You saw the smoke and the lockup. I'm wondering whether that was some sort of hardware issue, because the car just didn't seem to stop the way it needed to. She is back and running out on the racetrack. Just coming through Lesmo 1 right now as the rest of the field comes through Parabolica. Bid loses that lap. Absolutely, Derek Miller went very aggressive. And it ends up running wide here as well, in fact. We'll just try and get a quick look back at that. You see just a little bit too deep. Gets onto that sort of grippy grasscrete surface on the outside. He loses another spot now to Christina Ryan, who's back on the podium. And it's Robinson and Azeri currently at the top of the field. But Azeri has slid a little bit. There was a little bit of contact I heard further behind. I'm not quite sure exactly where that came in. Azeri's climbed up to 6th place through the early incidents from 9th on the grid. What a time for my overlays to break. You don't see anything. You don't see anything. You don't see anything, I promise. There we go. Back focused on this battle for 3rd place. Christina Ryan just a little bit ahead of... I mean, you can see the battle just in the front of the field there. And just in the back, both Dodbot cars are acting as the bread in this sandwich for the top 5. Then they're straight the way through. I think we're now about the halfway point in tonight's action. Behind Lilac Zir and Jacob Fulton, I believe. Got straight away behind, and then Valtteri Lightwind, the last driver who has not had to take that trip down pit lane. Well run. Christina Ryan's gone deep into Parabolica here. It's opening up the door for Derek Miller. She's going to have to run off the corner, but Miller's so close. She's going to have the slipstream. I think Christina might have gotten a slowdown there as well. Has to merge in. Brew is going to sneak through as well. Is not going to be denied there. And move Christina Ryan all the way down to 5th place from that incident down at Parabolica. With that, Bruce Silver's back where she qualified at this point, 4th place, looking to work on Derek Miller, who has had a rough start from that pole position, but definitely has pace in the number 56 Vodafone Mustang, and is looking to try and find as much as possible. I think it's the front end of Miller that's a little bit crunched in, so that must have been some contact with the back of Christina Ryan a lap or two ago. The rear end of the number 80 looking a lot less out of shape than the front of the 56. But that could hurt the drag a little bit for Miller, and you can't really afford to have that happen at a track like this where it's all about top end speed on the straightaways to complete those moves down into the chicanes. You've got to have bravery on the brakes, you've got to have that overlap and that confidence, and that could just play a little bit of a factor in Miller's ability to defend here. Barcy Brew's not gotten the best run here out of Parabolica this time. Might be under a little bit of threat from Christina Ryan into the Retifio chicane. It's not been any brave on the brakes. The confidence you have to have on the brakes has got to be so brutal indeed. Brew taking a very aggressive line there through the chicane. Is that going to be a slowdown potentially? Oh, she's on the attack right now on Derek Miller, so no such concerns. Just maximizing that first apex as much as possible. And Miller's going to have to defend the inside. He might just merge back over. There's not going to be any drama there into the De La Rosa chicane. But Bruce, so much confidence. Flicking through those low-speed sections. So that did a little bit of drifting behind. Derek Miller is a little bit deep into Lesmo 1. This one doesn't switch back. It's the inside again for Lesmo 2 for Bruce Silver, but Derek manages to swing it around the outside and hold on. This is the run down the DRS straight to Ascari. 5 laps to go here. You've got to be very brave to try and get the move done. Here, it's very much a single line chicane, and it looks like Miller gonna hold on. Silver backs out just a little bit, and it's about setting up the run now out of here and putting that pressure into Ascari as Robinson struggles on the exit. Derek Miller struggles. He could be close to 3 wide here. In fact, Bruce Silver, I think, may have picked up another slot or just picked up a bad run there. And it's let Christina Ryan through, and now it's her job to try and work her way at Miller to take that final spot on the podium. Up at the front of the field, it is still Paige Azari, who has run away by about 3 seconds now. Robinson in second place. It's now starting to come under pressure. Her lap times aren't quite as quick as the cars behind. Christina Ryan does have a look to the inside. And we are going to get going. And there's contact actually between Miller and Robinson. They're going to get going once again, but that's stacked everyone up. Robinson just doesn't have to run off the corner. I wonder whether there was a mistake through the rectifier chicane that precipitated that incident. It's now Derek Miller's to the inside. Christina Ryan. Sorry, to the inside, looking to pick up the pieces here. Miller's going to try and swing the outside. Doesn't quite get it hooked in. And he's going to have to straight line the chicane and back off. How many spots will he lose this? He's going to fall to the very tail end of this pack. One mistake can be so critical here. Miller's now down 4 spots from where he qualified. Who was that going off? That's Robinson with a mistake down at Lesmo 1. She's now down into pit lane. And what on earth has happened to unravel Robin Robinson's race? Let's have a look first of all at that incident down at turn number 1. And just, I think just overshot her slightly, but then Derek Miller came in very hot, just gives a little bit of helping hand. And then down into second chain. Is there contact from Christina Ryan? No, Robinson just overcuts it a little bit. I think at that point, just a little bit of frustration ends up giving up on this one. It's going to come back for round number 2. Potentially to be cut back to live action. There's contact between Christina Ryan and Bruce Silver. Christina's going to redress that position, but it is going to move Derek Miller through, and Lila Zier's going to come upon this. Oh, Christina Ryan's got bid damage. Struggling to get going once again. Jacob Fulton as well. They're caught off in this. This had shades. It could have been a very, very dangerous redress if it went just a little bit differently. Fulton's going to try and get to work as well on Christina. We'll see how much damage she's carrying in just a second, because that was a big incident down at Parabolica. A little bit of desperation with 3 laps to go in this race. Fulton does get the move done. Ryan's now down to 6th place, but already is going to try and work back on Fulton. Coming through Curva Grande and down towards the Delarose chicane. Azeri now leads by 6 seconds over Derek Miller, who has found an awful lot of recovery in this one from some incidents for the cars behind. Christina's going to be to the inside of the Delarose chicane, but good defense from Fulton. No, Christina Ryan swings it around the outside of the second apex and holds on. Gets into 5th place. Lila Zier is now just half a second behind Bruce Silver for the spot on the podium, but let's have a look back at what happened to put them back in these spots to begin with. It was a run down toward Parabolica. It looks like, you know, maybe serving a slowdown, holding the inside, trying to defend it, and then just locks the brakes. Try to get it stopped, and hits into the side of the number 36. She does redress that position. Very sketchy though with a blind corner. There comes Lila Zier around. Christina Ryan struggling to get back under control of the number 80 Ford Mustang. She's got the work done. Fulton and Christina Ryan are still side by side. And that's Christina Ryan's once again, I think, had to give up some time and let the number 13 back through. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, I'm sure a little bit of damage for Silver, as this is going to be the white flag lap here. Azeri with a 6-second lead. Her teammate Bruce Silver currently in 3rd. And Lila Zier came in with, we think, pretty much no practice in this one. Has started to warm to this track. She's going to have a look to the inside into the rectifier chicane. No, he's going to brake early, trying to feint a mistake out of Bruce Silver, but a very cool head in that Dodge box car. Not going to be so easy to crack. Jacob Fulton, Christina Ryan going to snake through the chicane as well. Just a couple more opportunities left for Lila Zier to try and find a way through. He's going to try and get around the outside through Curva Grande to try and set up the inside, get the overlap into the chicane. And in fact, Bruce Silva does back off from that one. It will move Lila Zir onto the podium after starting all the way at the back of the field. Further back, Christina still stuck behind Jacob Fulton. Did the right thing to address those positions, avoid a post-race penalty, of course. But it's cost her an awful lot of positions, and there's just not much she can do to try and get around at this point. Bruce Silva has been knocked down to 4th, which is where she started, to be fair. It's not bad at all, but at the front of the field, about to come through the final corner, Christina Ryan trying to keep Fulton on, and is trying to force any sort of mistake. But a driver who has been absolutely flawless all race long, Paige Azeri, started in 3rd position, got an incredible jump, has moved to the front of the field and never looked back. Race 1 winner here at Monza. First race win on the season for the 99 of Paige Azeri. Further back, Christina Ryan and Jacob Fulton are going to run through the final couple of corners, and it looks like maybe an issue for Fulton to knock him a little bit back. We'll try and see what happened to Fulton. It will be Miller second. Zir holds on ahead of Silva, and then Ryan and Fulton and Lightwing, your final finishers. Robinson and Melton not going to make it out of this. They are side by side into Parabolica. This time, Christina does hold on. It's just a little mistake, a spin from Fulton, trying to hold on the throttle, trying to handle the outside. The good news for the number 13 is it now means that for race number 2, get to sit on pole position. It'll be Fulton at the front of the field for the second race of tonight's action. Christina Ryan will line up second. Bruce Silva ahead of Lila Zir on row number 3, and then Derek Miller ahead of race 1 winner Paige Azeri in 4th place. In 6th place, sorry. Valtteri Lightwing, Robin Robinson, and then Eva Melton, 7th, 8th, and 9th will hold their spots for race number 2. And we once again rev the engines. Once again, it's about who can get the best launch. And we are underway. Green flag here at Monza. Once again, Christina Ryan doesn't get the best jump. It'll be nearly 4 wide. It's nearly 4 wide. Down into turn number 1. There's bumping, there's banging, and somehow no one has crashed. It's gonna be Derek Miller who makes it through from 5th on the grid to the lead of the race. Paige Azeri follows from 6th up to the lead. Robin Robinson up to 4th. Jacob Fulton wanted no part of that. Drops all the way back down to 7th. And actually he's gonna do a little bit of rally crossing here on the outside of Curva Grande. But up at the front of the field, it's Miller and Azeri with the start of a lifetime to cut ahead of Christina Ryan and Lila Zir, who does not get started in the second row with Bruce Silva. And already the grid has been basically completely inverted once again. Fulton's dropped to the tail end now after rejoining safely there. There's a slowdown for Bruce Silva. She's going to have to get out of the way. She might fall back a fair bit. It's Derek Miller at the front of the field ahead of Paige Azeri. Christina Ryan had an okay start, but just wasn't quite the same as what the drivers behind were able to find. She has set up 3rd place right now with Robinson tight on her heels. And then Lila Zir started 4th, currently 5th. I'm sure she's planning to work her way back through once again. In fact, she's a little bit wide. She's going to struggle to get the run off the corner here. Even Melton with a little bit of a mistake. Actually, a big mistake. That's a front end that's all sorts of knocked in. What has happened? And it's a spin, it looks like. maybe just an additional damage. Maybe tried it on the throttle a bit too early, and some bodywork damage for sure to number 81. She'll fall to the back of the field once again, with Jacob Fulton starting to start that climb back up through. Now let's just have a look. Let's have a look at this race start. Let's just go on board Paige Azari, who started in 6th place. My goodness, what confidence, what bravery to make that work. And that is just beautiful. That is shot of the season for any photographers in the Discord server, and I know we have quite a few. That is what moved Miller and Azari from the 3rd row of the grid straight to the front on the initial start. Robinson gonna have to give up a little bit of time. She'll now move back down to 5th place and promote Lila back to where she started in 4th. There's a little bit of a breakaway. The top 3 have formed here, and then a battle pack from 6th down to 9th for the tail end. Eva Melton currently chasing down Jacob Fulton, who started on the pole event but got out of dodge very quickly. Decided that, you know, for actually finishing the last race 6th, it's not really worth the risk of death that early on. Lilac Zero, in fact, had a spin down at turn number 1. Let's have a look at what's happened to the number 89 here. She's fallen down to 6th place. Yeah, it's on the brakes. In fact, it's going to be a little bit of contact. No! It's going to be a bit of a forced error, if anything. Robinson looking for that inside line. They're trying to leave a little bit of room to the outside. And he's just going to make a mistake and slide around. Let Robinson through. So Bruce Silver also going to get around. A wiggle from Valkyrie Lightwing. You see how difficult it is to control the cars. They'll trim so much wing out of the setup. Actually, is that correct? No, I think we actually... I remember seeing the devlog about this. There's definitely a reduced rake on the cars to try and reduce the level of drag. But from what I remember reading on the forums when this car was released, they do have adjustable rear wings in real life, but they weren't able to get decent aerodynamic data for it because no team ever ran anything other than max. So I think it's just set to max here. Violet Zir going to try and use that downforce to hold the inside line. Bruce Silver going to try and hand the outside, but Zir's going to slide job her way through. Slides a little bit too hard. Has a snap of oversteer and has to catch it over on the outside. Silver will gain that position back. Zir might have a slowdown here that could hand Valkyrie Lightwind 6th place. And it looks like she will concede that spot down into turn number 1. Very nearly a fantastic move from the 89. In fact, Jacob Fulton also going to be waved through by iRacing, maybe? Oh, she just about gotten away with that one. Even Melton been brought in here as well. And it seems like Lightman may have finally cleared that tab with the stewards. But it's cost her an awful lot more than she was already down from that early instant. Derek Miller has taken the fastest lap here in the race. In clean air, bear in mind, doesn't have draft assistance. Jake Fulton just a little bit squirrely out of the Delarose chicane, and that will let even Melton through. Melton, of course, finished 4th down a couple of incidents in turn number 1. Lilac Zir got a good run through Lesmo 1, has the inside for Lesmo 2, who's going to try and box out Valkyrie Lightwind and gets that move done. Let's have another look at how that one was set up. and just hooked the apex a little bit better. Lightweight couldn't quite get to the inside there. It just opens the door. And that is how you get going once again. Lilac Zare now back in the reverse grid pole position spot for race number 3. But I know she's going to want more. Has Bruce Silver a couple seconds up the road. Nearly had the move done and dusted on the number 36. A lap or two ago. And she's going to get to work now. Even Melton going to try and force it out of Valtteri Lightwind. The mistake may have come through. Deep through Parabolica. Can't carry the momentum. Even Melton does have the nose ahead, but there might be a little bit more momentum from Valtteri Lightwind. No, we'll slot into line, look for a little bit of draft, and now going to look for a move to the inside. On to lap 5 here. We're expecting maybe 4 laps left in the run. Of course, timed race is 15 minutes, and it's right on the borderline between 8 and 9. It's all up to how quickly Derek Miller is able to run at the front of the field. Even Melton doing a great job considering the level of damage that is on the right front of that car from that incident at Parabolica near the start of the race. Cutting her way up through to 7th place currently and handing on very well to Lilac Zare. Once again, this position is so important. Reverse grid pole for whoever finishes at the lead of this pack. He was a little bit wide, but I mean, Lilac wasn't too close to the apex there either. It's just going to mean Valtteri Lightwood has a chance to maybe try and capitalise, but isn't going to make it happen. Reverse grid given, a pole position given to 6th place, and the cars are going to get fully fixed up, so even Melton will have a fresh Ford Mustang to work with, a fresh nose, a fresh right front suspension if needed. And we know she's going to be hungry for a result here after so many issues. Lilac Zare, in fact, has a bit of a slide through the chicane. That's going to back up the entire field. In fact, it could invite Eva Melton through, potentially for 6th place. They're going to stay line astern into Parabolica here. By my estimate, we should actually have 4 laps left. We should just about beat the white flag at the start of lap 8. And Lilac Zare has managed to hold on for another lap, but this is not simple at all. The top 5 all keeping each other honest, you've got to say. Reminder, Miller and Azari started 5th and 6th, but by turn number 1, they'd gotten themselves up into those spots. Robinson, also a big gainer, up 4 positions from 8th to 4th. Again, 3 podiums on her campaign 2 weeks ago at Okayama. Lilac Zare does a little bit wide. The rest of them follow even wider, in fact. And Eva Melton's got dirt on the tyres. It's going to get a little bit uncomfortable on the brakes, but holds on to it. Gets the dirt onto the tyres again. That cooldown trick doesn't work anymore. They just get a little bit too dirty for that. And Valtteri Lightwood going to be looking once again for an opportunity, and Lilac Zare going to try and focus, block out the mirror, and just run away and confirm this reverse grid pole. Oh, and a little bit caught out on the curbing, on the exit there. It's very bumpy, and this car can really struggle as you're trying to put the power down. It's locked differential over those bumps. They're going to be nose to tail through Parabolica here. 3 laps to go. And Jacob Fulton looking to get a nose to the inside to try and work at Valtteri Lightwing. Fulton had started on pole position, has fallen all the way to the back of the field. But knows he has the pace to do a little bit better than that and might start the work here. Gets alongside. It's about bravery on the brakes. Valkyrie gets into the grass, gets onto that grass tree as well. Managed to keep it pointed in the right direction and not spin into the side of Jacob Fulton. Great work from Lightwing to pull that off. As even Melton has had another incident. This time it's out of turn number 2 and she falls back to the tail end once again. And just imagine the wheel spin, probably at the top of third gear there, and it's still sliding. Does a good job to avoid the wall. But now more issues into the low chicane. And I think she's just given us a drift exhibition at this point. We'll focus forward to the battle for fourth place, because Bruce Silver, remember, started in third, finished the last race in fourth, looking to try and get there once again around Robinson, who has fallen back just a little bit. Bruce Silver gained over the past couple of laps. And looking to try and get that move well within slipstream range at this point. We're going to have just 2 laps to go to try and get this one done. Potentially a mistake from Lightwing a little bit further back in the action. Unless it's going to be into Parabolica here. Tries to look to the inside, tries to throw a move. And just a little bit deep, and luckily the lockup doesn't quite catch out Fulton. But the 13 does manage to run away. And now the pressure's relieved, but for Robinson it's a very different story. You know what they say about when a Dod's chasing a car? Well, here's Bruce Silver try to chase down 4th position. And she's got just a lap and a half to get it done on Robinson in the 24, I should say. In fact, Lightwing with another mistake further back. Let's drop them all the way to the tail end. And some mistake in Lesmo too. This is going to go a little bit wide. Catch the gravel, and unfortunately that's going to be enough to let Eva Melton through. Down into Ascari. We'll flip back to live pictures. This is the white flag drivers on this final lap of competition. And Robinson with a really good run through the Retifio chicane will launch her ahead as Lila Ziers made a mistake in turn number 1 once again. That'll move Jacob Fulton up into the reverse grid pole. And the car just goes around. The moment she touches the throttle there, you hear it. There goes Fulton. She's going to get rolling once again. The Della Rose chicane going to be tricky on those warm tyres. She's going to get going, but it is going to be Fulton who moves to the front of the field once again to start race number 3. Robinson seems to have weathered the storm from Bruce Silver. Just a couple more corners, a couple more braking zones left to go to defend that spot. And to steal the 4th place that Bruce Silver defended last time out. But that could be potentially a little bit of a slowdown. Is Robinson going to get away with that one? What sort of run is Silver going to have coming back through? It remains to be seen. But Derek Miller, they say you can't win the race in turn 1. But when you have a start like that, maybe you just can. Derek Miller takes his first win of the season with a fantastic launch. Paige Azeri starting alongside will get a similar miracle start and finish 2nd place. And it'll be Christina Ryan brushing the pit wall, coming home in third place in this one, ahead of Robinson and Silver, who are separated by just 0.04 of a second at the checkered flag. Even Melton not able to get the move done on Lyle at Zay to finish out that one. They'll come home 7th and 8th with Lightwind behind, but it is going to be Jacob Fulton in P3 who is going to take that reverse grid pole position as we go into the final race of the weekend. But while we have a little bit of time for the drivers to catch their breath a little bit, we will see if we can get a quick word in just a moment from our 2 race winners. We'll be back in a moment. And it looks like we do have, waiting for us, race 1 winner, Paige Azari. Congratulations, talk us through that one. And not just that, but talk us through the start of race 2 as well. That was absolutely blockbuster.
Thank you. So, race 1 was like a big surprise to me. Like, I haven't been having the best week. So when I showed up, I wasn't expecting much. And Derek, he was not like insanely fast, but definitely like a solid bit better than I was. So I kind of expected him to just walk away with it, and then I'd have like this little battle with Christine and Robin before I wadded up or whatever. But I was kind of surprised. I spent like half of practicing starts, and it worked out shockingly well. And then, I don't know, I guess Derek just wasn't comfortable yet, so he made a few mistakes. I was able to kind of slip through. And then I imagine I missed a very exciting race behind me, because it felt like every time I looked at the relative, like that whole group was like another 2 seconds behind. So how did that go?
I mean, it was fantastic, but it's always even better when you don't have to worry about it out on the racetrack and you can just run your own race. I mean, in race number 2, you were set to be facing a lot of battles back through the field in our reverse grid, and then suddenly you were clear of everyone. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, that was that was an event. So it was like, same thing with the starts, etc. Turned out I've kind of figured it out. So it's like, and it's supercars, so I'm not gonna lift. Well, George Washington didn't lift in 1776 or whatever.
Hey.
But yeah, I felt myself getting like kind of pushed around, so I'm like, oh god, this is gonna end in a lot of tears. But somehow, we made it to the braking zone okay. Thank goodness Chrissy like kind of backed out of it, because yeah, it was very exciting. Unfortunately, Derek seemed to very much find his footing in race 2, so it was all I could do to just kind of hang on to his coattails, which I managed to do for like the first few minutes at least, but he was just kind of very slowly stretching it out. But fortunately, I was able to keep the gap 2 behind. Probably wasn't a super exciting race on the broadcast, at least where I was, but you know, it was
You didn't have much
nice
airtime. I'll apologize for that. But
Oh, sorry.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Enjoy race 3. Hopefully it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, before you go, anyone want to shout out and say thank you to?
Um, thanks, Brew, for convincing me to race today because I kind of wanted to stay in bed. But yeah, it's been very fun. So thank you.
And thank you so much. And hopefully we'll talk to you again after this one. Same plans before?
Yeah.
That was our race 1 winner, Paige Azeri. It does not look like we're going to be able to get a word with Derek Miller. He's going to do all his speaking out on the racetrack, getting some practice in for the 3rd round of tonight's weekend. And there's just a couple minutes left before we get underway for that. And I know what you're all here for. Hang on. Let's do a little crank it up. I definitely enjoyed that. Race 3 of the VRR Marathon GT World Tour coming up right now. This is your starting grid for the third round of tonight's action. It'll be Derek Miller and... That's not correct. That just isn't correct. It'll be Jacob Fulton and Bruce Silver on the front row for race number 3 ahead of Robin Robinson and Christina Ryan. Paige Azeri and Derek Miller will round out your inverted top 6 from race number 2 ahead of Lila Zier, Eva Melton and Valkyrie Lightwing rounding out your field. We heard the roar of the engines and the practice starts there from Christina. We'll see if she can get a run to try and defend from that launch we saw from Azeri and Miller in the last race. Just seconds away. And we are going. It's not the best start from Bruce Silver. And once again, it's going to be Azeri cutting through. Christina Ryan does get a much better launch this time. But it's going to be Paige Azeri. And this time, there's going to be carnage behind. Christina Ryan's caught up Robin Robinson. Ryan's just going to go straight through. Gather it back up and find her own footing later. Paige Azeri is out ahead. Derek Miller involved in the early incidents there. And then Jacob Fulton and Bruce Silver gonna work their way back through. Christina Ryan, of course, is gonna move to the side, give up those spots. She's gonna have a massive slowdown from that one. Eva Melton also caught up in incidents. Derek Miller almost hits Christina Ryan there into the Delarose chicane. Jacob Fulton goes around out of the chicane, and already carnage in race number 3 as Eva Melton gets going once again. Miller lined up in second place, Christina Ryan ahead of Bruce Silver and Robin Robinson. The 24 hunting down Bruce Silver once again, just picking that last battle up right where they left off in race number 2. But absolute bedlam on the opening lap of our third race of the season. We've gone away so well. Monza's known for those chaotic starts into turn number 1. Second race, we got incredibly fortunate. They managed to make that 4 wide work and put on a show for us without any chaos. But it looks like not quite so lucky this time out. It will be Paige Azeri and Derek Miller up 4 spots once again on lap number 1, but in a very different fashion as Robinson tries to get to the inside of Bruce Silver. Can they complete the move, or can Silver hold the momentum on the outside? It's going to be a drag race down to turn number 1, but I think Silver's going to have the draft here from Christina Ryan, and that could be just enough to pull the Dodge box car ahead. Robinson is going to keep her foot. He's going to try and get this one done. And it's going to be a battle on the brakes into the Retfield chicane. And in fact, Robinson is going to be given that opportunity. Silver's going to try and go for the switchback, but there's nowhere to make it happen for the number 36. At the front of the field, Azeri's still getting challenged by Miller. We'll come back to this battle in just a second. But what happened at the front of the field on that initial start? They're 4 wide once again. And they're just 4 wide again. And this time the contact doesn't quite work out the same way. Let's slow this down. Let's go up into the skies. That's not useful at all. And you can see the lane just narrows the tiniest bit between the two of them. There's so little of movement there, but it sends Miller into Robinson, into Ryan. Ryan does a great job to just scrape the wall down at turn 1 and decide, you know what, I'm gonna sort this out later. She runs away. She ends up rejoining the race in 3rd position, and everyone gets going once again. We'll come back to live pitch very briefly because Silver and Robinson have been going at it here. A little bit of chaos between them. It's still happening. Robinson gets to the inside of turn number 1 again, but this time Silver's going to find it on the brakes. He's going to try and hand around the outside. They're going to try and navigate, leave so much room through turn number 1, but Robinson is going to have the inside through Curva Grande, the shorter line, and I think is going to be able to pull this one off. Derek Miller going to try and challenge the teammate of Paige Azeri a little bit further ahead. Nothing of it right here. And just Robinson ahead of Bruce Silver into the De La Rose chicane. These two had a fantastic fight so far in race number 3. We're unfortunately got to look at the incidents that have happened to Eva Melton as well. She's back down on pit lane, and I think out of this one. So this is the first incident. I think this is on the exit of turn number 1. She's a little bit too hasty on the throttle. Ends up going around. Much more cautious through those boards to bleed off that slowdown. And then into the De La Rose chicane here. Whoa, what happened there? Was it catching the grass on entry? Or just a snap of wheel hop? I think just wheel hop, and it just spins into that barrier, and unfortunately that'll be day done for Eva Melton. We get back to live pictures now. Christina Ryan in 3rd place. You see just up the road, it's going to be the battle for the lead, and it's once again Azeri and Miller once again up 4 spots from where they started, from the 3rd row. And Miller's going to go to the inside of Paige Azeri. They're going to be side by side. Miller just misses the corner. They're both going to miss the corner because of that. That'll be slowdowns for both. That could bring Christina Ryan up to the front of the field. Azeri's had to drop back. Christina Ryan up into 2nd place. I think Azeri might have gotten the worst slowdown of the two. But it looks like Miller's having to back off as well into the De La Rose chicane. He's going to have to go to the inside. He's going to have to give up the time. And it is going to be Christina Ryan to the lead after that incident between Azeri and Miller. They're going to rejoin in the order they were. Robinson sending it through the chicane in the background. But an incident between the two of them. We'll have one more look at that one in turn number 1. Or will we actually? Because Christina Ryan is already under pressure. Paige Azeri, confidence to know that she wants this spot back, so that she can get this spot back. And is going to be pressing all the way into Ascari here. I think we've got just enough time. Let me pull that replay up. See, just too deep. Just doesn't ever get the car hooked in to the corner. Has the overlap. And it's just so difficult on the brakes here. Paige has to turn in at some point. They end up locking wheels. They both go their separate ways, and in the end, it is going to be Christina Ryan, the massive beneficiary. But how long will it last? Paige Azeri within a couple of tenths of a second. Miller a couple seconds behind. There's no pressure on the back of the 99. There's the move to the inside. Is it going to be a repeat of the last lap? No, if there isn't, it stops, but they're going to be snaking side by side through. Azeri keeps the nose in through turn number 2, has the inside line into Curve Grande, and is going to retake the race lead from Christina Ryan. The number 99 back to the point of the field, but Christina is going to have the slipstream and is going to have an opportunity for a move into the chicane. Isn't going to be able to make anything of it, but it's going to keep that pressure on. And that side-by-side battle has given an opportunity for Miller to close the gap. As further back, I mean, just look at those machines hop over the curbs in the back of shot. The top 5 all within 5 seconds now, ahead of Fulton and Lightwing. But past half put in the race, just 6 minutes left of competition. And it is Christina Ryan, the veteran, trying to put the pressure on Paige Azeri, a driver who has had one race win already this weekend and is looking for a second. Christina Ryan has won a Champ Car title, is winning Champ Car this season, but has not taken a win in the Marathon GT World Tour. She goes to the inside. Paige goes for the crossover. Paige pulls off the crossover. I think there might be a little bit of contact potentially. Side by side with Christina. And she's going to slide out. What a move that was. And I need to have another look at that. You see the dive from Christina Ryan to the inside. Azeri has done defensive, but realizes that she's got to go for the crossover. Nails it perfect. There's a little bit of contact. I think, honestly, netcode more than anything. And that should work itself out as Christina Ryan's had an incident, actually, down at turn number 1. And that's knocked down to 3rd place now, and she's got some damage on the back of that car. Has that little bit of netcode contact done a number on Christina Ryan? Robinson and Silver are coming up behind and have a shot at a podium each now. We'll look at the incident to Christina at turn 1, and in fact, there's contact. Christina looks to the inside, tries to bait out a move potentially from Miller, and he's just going straight on. He's once again just not quite got the braking right into the corner. Robinson has to stop as Christina Ryan gets there. Bruce Silver catches back up with that. And that is what's bunched all 3 of them under a blanket. Miller 3 seconds up the road, I'm sure. Christina hoping for a redress, but with the swarm of cars behind, Miller will not be eager to give that one up. Is going to maybe let that one go to the steward's room. Meanwhile, side by side, Silver's got to the outside of Robinson, but he's going to have to make that switchback move that Azeri pulled on Ryan. It's not been able to actually gets the outside line just ripped around as a mistake from Monza. A little bit of oversteer on that inside line. It is going to complete the pass. One last look at that incident as well. This is a replay of that for P4. Final 3 minutes of action now. You see from Robinson trying to hold that inside line as tight as possible. Noses his car to the outside. Just a little bit too eager on the throttle. Trying to keep the wheel straight, trying to almost dirt truck it on the way out. But it just doesn't quite stick. Now, Silver is on the rear bumper of Christina Ryan for 3rd place, going for that podium position. Just 2:20 on the clock here. I think it's going to be close if Azeri ends up seeing the white flag this time. This is lap 7. The first race went 8 laps. The second race went 9. There has been a little bit of scuffling at the front of the field in this one. It could be another 8-lap run to the checker. Just 2 minutes on the clock. Paige Azeri comes through Parabolica. And we'll see if the white flag flies on the flag stand here. I didn't see it, but it was indeed the white flag being shown. They're going to be side by side. Off the final corner, Christina Ryan to the inside. Bruce Silver to the outside. Robinson looking to pick up the pieces. Silver has the nose ahead. Christina goes brave. Robinson completely misses the corner. Christina gets the move done. Or holds on. holds on for what is going to be third position once Robinson redresses after that course cut. You've got to think that must have affected the bravery of the break-in for those two with that car flying past. Silva going to have to actually tuck it around the outside to finish off that move, and Robinson to keep that pressure up all the way to the checker, Christina Ryan. It looks like should be safe with that third position. We'll be thinking surely that it should have been second. Robinson, I'm sure, not particularly thrilled about having to stop for the number 80 after the incident in the first chicane. But has just 2 more braking zones to try and get it done on Bruce Silva. He's going to be aggressive. Silva's going to cover the inside. She's got to brake deep to cover and get to that first apex, because if the nose can stay alongside into that second part, Robinsons will have the run. Silva does manage to hold on for it. Now it's about the run out of the corner, a little bit sideways for Brew. Robinson shuffled to the outside of the racetrack for Parabolica. No, he's going to dive to the inside. Silva can't quite cover the move there. He'll be side by side. Paige Zeri at the front of the field will take the race win. Her teammate, Bruce Silva, tries to hand it around the outside in this battle for 4th position. But it looks like Robinson is going to be able to get that move done. It'll be Miller in second. Christina Ryan rounding out the podium. And then Robinson holding on from Bruce Silva by just 0.2 of a second after a fantastic fight at the end of the race. Jacob Fulton and Valkyrie Lightwing rounding out your finishers, with Eva Melton once again struggling here at Monza. And wow. What a weekend of action this has been. Let's have a look at the celebrations. Race 3 winner. 2 wins on the weekend for the 99 of Paige Zeri, the Dogbots Racing number 99 Ford Mustang. Just confirm the results for the final race of round 6 here at Monza. It is Paige Zeri and Derek Miller starting 5th and 6th once again in race 3, finishing 1-2. This time it is Azeri taking the supremacy in that one. Christina Ryan comes home in 3rd, rounds out that podium ahead of Robin Robinson and Bruce Silva. That fantastic fight for 4th place. Jake Fulton will finish in 6th place, Valkyrie Lightwing in 7th, and Eva Melton 8th and final starter in this one. It looks like we've got a quick word from 3rd place finisher in that race, Christina Ryan. We'll talk to you very quickly. We've not had a chat with you yet this weekend, but I mean, what incredible action it was here. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, first of all, that 4 wide stuff at race 2 was really cool. I wish we could have made that work in the 3rd one, but yeah, I don't know. Solid day. The slowdowns were really frustrating. It felt like, especially in the first race, we kind of figured it out towards the end, but those first couple in particular, there was more people passing from pulling over than from racing, which is always unfortunate, but you know, nature of the beast. I had fun. It was fun getting to race, but this track kind of invites a lot of low percentage moves, and unfortunately we were on the bad end of a lot of them today.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a decent haul of points, of course. You're really gonna hate me for saying this, but let's talk about the points battle. Bia and Emily both absent in this one. You've got a good jump up the field. It confirms you into second place ahead of Derek Miller. Bia's way out there, but is that going to be a fun fight with Derek for the rest of the season?
Um, well, it'll be made a little easier. I have a feeling that the results of race 3 won't stand. Seems like a pretty slam dunk thing. So, um, that all being said, I don't know. I don't really, you know how I am. I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the points. It would take a meteor erasing Romania for anybody else to have a chance at this championship. So, um, as far as that goes, it's just kind of about having fun and going for it and going wheel to wheel. Whatever happens may come my way, but besides that, just trying to make the most of the races, keep the fenders clean, and make some supercars moves. So,
well, you certainly delivered on that one tonight. Anything you want to shout out? Say thank you to the floor, yours. Congratulations.
of course, shout out to everybody who still cheers me on every week. I really appreciate it. It means a bunch. Shout out to VRR for putting it on. Shout out to Paige. I had fun racing her. I don't think we made too much contact. Shout out to Brew, who I unfortunately clobbered on race 1. We already talked about it. It's all good, but sorry about that. And then, thanks to you for pulling the marathon run on the broadcast here to get the show on TV.
Hey,
So,
nice sponsor shout out.
yeah.
You can throw at this. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks' time over at Bathurst.
Yeah, of course.
We'll work our way now up the podium and talk to second place finisher in race number 2. And more importantly, race 2 winner, Derek Miller. Talk to us, Derek.
Yeah, that was a little tough. This isn't my best car track combo, but we had a little bit of speed. The tire degradation seemed to be so high after 1 or 2 laps. You had to anticipate that or you're going to end up in the runoff. But yeah, it was tough.
I mean, we've heard from Paige's point of view of that race 2 start. I think that's the thing that everyone's going to remember from this weekend. So talk us through that launch and that 4 wide move on the start-finish stretch into turn number 1. And just how you had the bravery to hold on to that one and end up taking the race lead.
Yeah, I didn't know that. My spotter told me 3 wide, and then I felt like I had enough momentum I could go with it. And then I looked behind me and it was a lot more of a mess than I had anticipated. I don't know if I'd have went for that if I'd have known the situation. But I didn't expect to come out on top of that, but it worked out for me.
And of course, a couple weeks' time, we'll be heading over to the mountain Bathurst for what is gonna be a very fitting race for these cars, a very tricky race for these cars. Talk us through how you handled that challenge heading into that. You got a couple weeks to practice, thankfully, but what about that one?
Yeah, I haven't actually done much. I haven't done any laps on that track, so I don't know how this is going to go. Race 1, I'm not sure what happened, but my there's something wrong with the braking on cold tires, and I just gave up way too much time. So I need to find out what that was and make sure that doesn't happen again. I don't know what to expect for Bathurst. Hopefully it's a bit less chaotic than this was at some points, but I hope to have some speed.
Well, I certainly hope so too. It'll be a pleasure to see you out there. But of course, before we'll let you go, any shout out sponsors, any thank yous? Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you to y'all for putting this on and my competitors for racing somewhat, better than me most of the time. So that was nice.
Well, thank you so much, and good luck in a couple weeks' time over at Bathurst. And one more driver left to talk to for tonight's action, and a little bit of deja vu because we've had this conversation once already before. Paige, winner
Hello again.
tonight, second one on the weekend, second one on the season, and second verse same as the first on that race 3 start.
Yeah, I didn't think they were gonna put up with, my shenanigans again, but they absolutely did put up with my shenanigans again. I think it was because I was able to clear Derek. He was the one, because he was better than the others, but I was better than him, so it all just kind of collided. But yeah, I was able to get through shockingly smoothly. And then it was kind of just bracing myself for when he caught up, which happened quite quickly. I was terrified because it seemed like he was just objectively much better on the brakes than I was. So I was kind of bracing myself for the move. Lucky for me, when that happened, he locked up his front right, I think he said, and just kind of sent us both off. Thankfully, he gave the position back. I probably would have been mighty upset if he had not. But yeah, and then I was able to catch up to Chrissy. I think she was struggling all day, so fortunately, I was able to get like a nice clean pass on her. She dived me and into Parabolica, and I was really proud of like that super smooth over under that I did
It was
on
so
the
good.
exit. Thank you. And then yeah, after that it was just kind of a repeat of race 1. I think Derek cleaned out poor Chrissy. That was a real shame to see. But yeah, fortunately, I was able to just pick off the rest of the laps while the others did their own thing.
Well, again, a super strong performance for tonight. What's that? First in that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very glad to redeem myself for my slightly embarrassing performance at Long Beach.
Well, it's one sweet redemption. Go celebrate. Go get some nice wine and pasta and whatever it would be relevant here. And of course, one last time, any thank yous and shout outs. I saw Brew was in the Twitch chat, being very thankful for the words earlier. So anyone else you want to say hi to?
I'd like to thank Bianca for not being there because I feel like she would have beaten everybody, either literally or metaphorically. But yeah, besides that, it's just, had a fun race. Thank you for paying attention.
It's been my absolute pleasure. We'll see you. Will you be at Bathurst?
Yeah, probably. I hope so.
Well,
I like Bathurst.
I cannot wait to see what you and the team can do there. Thank you so much, and once again, congratulations on the double race win here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that does bring to a close our coverage of round 6 of the VRR Marathon GT World Tour here at Monza. We mentioned it, in 2 weeks' time, we will be back at Mount Panorama Circuit in Bathurst, New South Wales, Australia, for the biggest challenge you can face in one of these cars. I believe it will be sprint action once again there, and then we will close out the season in a couple of weeks over at Montreal. But from everyone here at ABN, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to catch all the stock car action throughout the rest of the weekend. And most importantly, mark it on your calendar, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for the 7th Arrowhead 500. You will not want to miss that. The month of May starts here on ABN, and we would love to have you on for the ride. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.